My name's Chuck Cassidy, and for the last 8 years, me and my team have been taking old buses like this and turning them into the adventure rigs of our clients' dreams. This bus is no exception, and when we finished it in 2020, it became home to a family of 4 as they traveled all across this country looking for a place to settle down and enjoying the sights and scenes and sounds along the way. Well, they found that place, which means they'll be parting ways with this bus. But before they let it go, they've given me the opportunity to make a tour video and share with you some of the great design elements and features that this bus has. Join me and follow along as we go around the outside and the inside of this bus and share with you all of the amazing features it has. I know you're gonna love it, so make sure you don't go anywhere. Thanks for watching. Well, before we get started talking about all the things we've done to this bus to make it into an awesome off-grid home for a family, let's talk about the bus itself. If you know me, I'm picky about the buses that we work on and start with, and this bus is no exception, and it fits all of the criteria that I love. It might even be the perfect bus for this kind of platform. It's a 40-foot long 2004 Bluebird All-American. It's got a Cummins 8.3 liter engine, and that's made it up to an Allison MD 3066 transmission. The extra 6 that makes it a 3066 is referring to the fact that it's got 6th gear unlocked, and it came that way from the factory because this was an activities bus. That means that when you're cruising on the highway, your engine RPMs are going to be lower, saving you wear and tear on the motor, but also saving your wallet by giving you improved fuel economy. The bus is rust-free. It's got just over 175,000 miles on it, but what makes it even sweeter is that Tony and his team down at AAA Bus Sales in Phoenix recently put in a fresh engine in the back of it. It's fully up to date on all of its maintenance. They've been excellent stewards of it, taking great care of it. As you can imagine, you don't want to break down with your family inside of the house that you live in. It's an excellent bus. It's been doing great for them on the road. Let's walk around the outside and I'll share with you what we've done to the exterior to make it into the fantastic shell that it is. Working from the outside in, the most obvious thing we've done to this bus is giving it a 16-inch roof raise. You know I'm a big fan of roof raises for anybody considering full-time living because not only does it open up the interior space for a lot more floor plan options, cabinetry storage, and in this bus's case, bunk beds, it also gives you room for insulation, and you just can't live without that. This bus has 4 inches of insulation in the floor and 3 inches of spray foam insulation all around. In addition to the roof raise, we obviously got rid of all of those leaky, drafty school bus windows and replaced them with dual pane RV windows, all of which have a screen. Now, aside from that, probably the other most extensive modification we did to the exterior of this bus is we actually moved the front door and put it right here in the middle. If you look toward the front of the bus, where this door once was, we've removed the door, the stairwell, we've extended the rub rails across to kind of transition into that area more so it doesn't look just like we patched it. And we actually added a luggage bay where those stairwells used to be. I really love this modification because it opens up a lot of possibilities in the floor plan on the inside. And Kendra, the mom of this family, happens to be an architect. So she came to us with the floor plan already designed around this move, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. It turned out so well, in fact, that we actually built a bus a lot like this one, and the layouts on these 2 buses are my favorites for a large bus for a family. Moving the door to the middle also opens up a cool possibility because it means that instead of having the front area where the driver sits be relatively isolated from the rest of the living space, in this bus's case, the living space extends all the way up, right up to the windshield. So when you're going down the road, you can be sitting on the couch, talking to the driver, and instead of leaving that driver all alone to just sit there and ponder their thoughts in solitude as they drive. I've been there. It's a great design, and plus, I mean, look at this door. What an awesome door, and they even have a sweet little number plate. I just love it. I think it's cute. What do you think? This window above me is something that I first did on my own bus back in 2014, and that was to add a second windshield up above the windshield that the bus comes with stock. It's an awesome way to use space that's otherwise not necessarily wasted, but I think underutilized, and it gives you an opportunity to give you windows that really open up the views of the horizon to the outside of the bus. We can put the windows on the side as high up as we possibly can, but a lot of times they don't make it into the eyesight and eye line of a tall person like me. When you add a window like that, it totally changes the game. And not only does it give you an awesome view, but it gives you a sweet place to put books, plants, and you know, all the cute little doodads that make a bus really feel like home. Well, it's time to go over all of the features packed into the outside of this bus, outside of the structural modifications we've done to it. And we'll start in the front with that luggage box that I talked about. It's a waterproof luggage bay, and what was otherwise wasted space where this front stairwell used to be. And instead, we've got a lot of usable storage, and it's quite large. I mean, it goes, you know, all the way back there. Woo! Great spot. Doesn't exist on a lot of other buses. Moving back, we've got the usual exterior shower. I don't have to explain to you why those are nice. And then right here, we've got our propane fill port. Again, this is a door that we like to use a lot. It's from Skoolie.com, but it gives access to a large 29-gallon capacity propane tank. That's more than enough to last you. I would have to ask them, but I bet it lasts them at least 4 months on just one tank of propane. All the propane you could ask for. Working our way down this side, we have a bus door, but it's not your typical bus door. This is one of our custom-made steel insulated doors with a locking RV lock with a deadbolt. And what sets this one apart is instead of a window, which you don't really need because it's not right next to the driver anymore, it's got this awesome design painted on it, kind of a abstract geometric horizon. And it's really an awesome detail that sets off the side of this bus. And you know, one of my favorite things really is the number plate here. I mean, I don't know, I just dig it. This was the Route 303 bus because it was on Route 303, and they kept that, and that's just a nice little Easter egg. Makes me smile. Now, there are a lot of composting toilet options out there, but they're all pretty much the same. They're all plastic, they all have a solids bin below the bowl that you empty from the inside, and they all have a urine tank underneath that. Well, this bus is a little special, and I really love this composting toilet. It's an Eco Dry by Wostman, which is a European company. And what's amazing is on the inside, the toilet itself is all ceramic. So it looks and feels just like a regular toilet, and it's a lot easier to clean than plastic. The nice thing about this toilet is not only does it feature a urine diverter, and it actually even has a flush option, but the solids bin and access to it happens on the outside. So you open this compartment, and there is a tray that slides out that fits your standard contractor garbage bag size. So you can empty the solids bin without having to bring it through your living space. And on top of that, it's got a vent fan here that runs the air through a charcoal filter. So there's never any smell from the outside. And the vent fan itself is adjustable. It's on a dimmer basically. So, you know, sometimes you need a little extra performance on your odor reduction, and you can just dial it in, you know. How many burritos did you eat? It's just a knob, you can just turn it up. Going around, we've got our first luggage bay here, just extra storage on the outside. I mean, you gotta have it, so why not add it? And you know me, tires are important, and Tyler and Kendra would agree. So this bus has excellent set of shoes on it all around, and it's even got these fancy shiny caps on it that really, they make it pop, am I right? Coming around to the driver's side of the bus, we've got all the usual suspects you'd expect to see on the hookup side. Over here we've got a stainless steel 30 amp shore power inlet. Not like you'll really need it because this bus has over 3,000 watts of solar panels on the roof, but it's there. And then moving down, we've got our water hookups. We've got the gravity fill for filling your tank with just, you know, buckets or a hose if you want. We've got a city water connection, and then a stainless steel tank vent. We love using stainless steel hookups. They just class it up. It's what you'd expect on a boat, and they're not going to break on you at an inopportune time like those plastic ones seem to do when they get brittle. Now, because this bus features that awesome composting toilet I mentioned earlier, It doesn't have a black tank, but it does have a gray tank. It's got a 100-gallon gray tank mounted up here, as per usual, on the driver's side, so that the drain valves and hookups are right where you want them when you pull into a dump station. Working our way down this side, we've got some more of the usual and then a little special thing up here. So down here we've got another luggage bay. I don't have to tell you why I like those. And right here is the outdoor section of the mini split, tucked up and underneath the bus for safekeeping. It's also shielded with this protective grille. Now up here is something that looks a little different that you might not be accustomed to seeing, but this is actually the intake and exhaust port for a Spartan, or for a Wallace Spartan diesel furnace. These diesel furnaces are great. I really like them over a conventional propane style RV furnace because they're ducted just like a regular furnace might be, but of course they're able to sip the diesel that's in the tank of this bus. And this bus features a very large fuel tank, so when you post up somewhere in those cold winter months, if you stop with a full tank, you know that you're gonna have heat for weeks and weeks to come. That's a very reliable, awesome way to keep the bus heated. And what I really like about these is that they have a Bluetooth capability. They actually can be accessed via Wi-Fi if you choose. The thermostat is easy to use, and the ducting throughout this bus means you can dial in the heat right where you want it. A lot of folks are using the Chinese diesel heaters and the Egress Windows and the Webasto units, and those are great units, but the drawbacks are that you only get heat in one location. They're not really designed to be ducted the way that these are. So these are great units. They're a high-end option, but in the long run, I think they save you lots of money on propane and the headaches of having to, drive out and fill up your propane tank periodically through the winter. Really like these units. We've installed a couple of them so far. What's the difference between a Mullet and a school bus? Well, the business is in the back on a school bus. Like I was saying, this bus has a Cummins 8.3 liter straight six turbo diesel engine. This one in particular is a fresh engine, recently installed by AAA Bus Sales down in Phoenix, Arizona by Tony and his team. If you've been following my videos, you know I really like his crew. They do great work and they're a real asset to the Skoolie community. So if you're ever in need of engine service and you can get down to Phoenix, check him out. Tony does good work. Now back here we also have a Class 5 receiver hitch, which they've been using to tow their vehicle behind them for the last 10,000 miles. It was installed by Lampert Hitch in Denver, Colorado. They're an awesome hitch company. They're not afraid of taking on these custom jobs like adding a hitch to the back of a rear engine bus. Finishing that out, of course, we've got a rear view camera because, well, you just gotta have those. And up top here, we've got a WeBoost. The last thing I've got to talk about before we head inside are the 8 residential style solar panels that we've installed on the roof of this bus. Gives this bus over 3,200 watts of solar panel on the roof. That's enough to run the mini split, the washer and dryer, and keep you living comfortably anywhere you find yourself. All right, well now that we've covered all of the awesome things that happen on the outside of this bus and the structural changes we did to make it a lot closer to a house and farther from a bus, let's go inside, because that's where things really get special on this build. Stepping up and in, we've got our custom fabricated stairwell. And when we make these, we actually take into account the added thickness of the insulation, so it's just a nice, clean, even rise over run and consistent as you go in. And stepping up into the bus, right away, you walk into the kitchen and just take a look at how spacious it is in here. I'm gonna head to the front. We'll start talking about all of the features and details up there, and we'll work our way back to the bedroom. All right, so starting at the very front of the bus, we have that awesome upper second windshield. And as you can see in here, I mean, look at all of the light just pouring in from it. It totally transforms the space in here, and I really love it. And back when this family was traveling in here, that space had succulents and all kinds of awesome things that you would put like in a bay window at your house. It totally changes things, and there's nothing cooler than when you're going down the road having a whole second window basically dedicated just to the view. Up above that, we've got some huge storage cubbies, and if you can see, there's these paracord with cleats here. And those hold in baskets so that when you're traveling, you can have things in storage up there and you don't have to worry about them, coming crashing down upon you. Coming around the side in this main front living space, we actually have full perimeter upper shelving, and that shelving, if you know how we roll, has indirect lighting that reflects up and off the ceiling, and of course, like everything we do, it's on a dimmer. In addition to that, we've got some hookups here for installing like your Apple TV or whatever that can run down to this really sweet automatic raising and lowering television. Take a look at this. I can't tell you how many times in these tour videos and in the builds that I share with people, I get asked, where's the TV? Well, a lot of times there just isn't one, or we do something like a projector. And projectors are great, but they're really hard to use going down the road because your screen is flapping. And unless you shell out big bucks and have the space for a big projector, using it in the daytime can be a real challenge. Kendra called this out in her design, and it's something we've never done since and had never done before, but it really is probably the coolest way to solve that TV conundrum. If you look behind me, raising right up out of this cabinet here, we've got a flat screen TV. Pretty fantastic, and it happens to be obviously right across from the couch. And what I really like about this setup is that you can use it going down the road with no troubles. It's a bright enough screen that you can use it in broad daylight with no problems. And when you're done with it, it tucks away for storage, and it's like it's not even here. And I have to be honest with you, I think most TVs are pretty ugly and I don't want to be looking at them unless I'm watching something. And this system here is a great way of solving that problem. So for all the folks watching at home, here's where the TV is. You heard me talking earlier about the exterior of the bus, where I mentioned how we removed the front door and created this whole new living space up here next to the driver. And as you can see, it's really awesome. I could be sitting right here having a conversation with the driver right next to him while we're driving down the road, and I'm right here, right up in the action, where the view is, where the fun is, where the stress is if you're going up and down a mountain pass. It's all right here. And furthermore, these couches here feature 5 seat belts. They're stowed right now, but that means if you're traveling with your family and you need a place to buckle the kiddos in, it's right here. They're connected to welded steel beams that are connected to the frame of the bus. As secure as anything, they're not going anywhere. Now, of course, anytime you have a couch as big and comfy as this, that means you've got an opportunity for a lot of storage. So underneath this entire couch is a giant storage compartment. In addition, these armrests flip up and open, so you've got, another place to put your knickknacks. And right here is a power outlet in this armrest, and there's also another one up here, not under the armrest, but right under the couch. So if you're working remote, working from home, you've got power for your laptop and your other electronic devices. Rounding out the driver's side of the couch and living room area, next to the TV console, we also have still some more storage. Awesome place. I would say keep your DVDs there, but who even has those anymore? Of course, underneath this, there's still some more storage underneath this couch cushion as well. And we've got our seatbelt stowed away back here. Now I'm grinning because I see how good the shop behind me looks, and that's because this kitchen is probably my favorite kitchen that we've done. All of the cabinetry, in fact, all of the wood that we used for the cabinetry and the ceiling of this bus and the furniture is all Baltic birch, and it's all veneer core, which means that every layer of this plywood is made out of Baltic birch. A lot of times birch plywood, it's only birch on the outside veneers, and then it's got a core of softwood or maybe even MDF or some type of filler. We don't really like and have never used that type of wood. This is our favorite wood. We use it for everything. But this was the first time that we did cabinetry that had the end grain exposed in an intentional way. And I'll give you some detail shots, but one thing I love about all of this is that there's no visible hardware on any of the doors and drawers in this kitchen. They do all have Jambini latches on them, which are really awesome magnetic latches that you can use to keep them from opening and sliding out when you're going down the road. But if you take a look at this, all of these inset drawer and door fronts, they just have a nice routered hand pull set in there. So it's super clean. There's nothing to catch your hips on if you're walking by them. And the overall look is a really clean design that's kind of timeless, and it showcases the beauty of this plywood, which actually, because of, you know, the nature of global conflicts, you can't even get it anymore. So this might be the last bus that we've done that gets this type of treatment. All right, let's start talking about some of the appliances in this awesome kitchen. The first one, of course, is going to be this 24-inch unique brand stainless steel propane range and oven. And the nice thing about this, and what separates it from what you might find in the conventional RV or some other builds out there, is that because it's a full-size apartment style unit, one that you would have in a house, the oven's actually big enough to be useful. And I know that this was used a lot cooking for a family of 4, and Kendra is an avid cook and also makes some pretty mean baked goods as well. So the oven is great for that. If you've ever tried baking in an RV oven, you know, well, it's kind of like a hope and pray method. You have no idea what's going on in there, and it's so small that the temperature variations, I mean, I could barely bake a batch of brownies in my last bus. But this thing, on the other hand, is the real deal, and you can enjoy cooking your meals on it. Behind it, we've got our real ceramic tile backsplash. This actually coordinates with what's happening in the bathroom, and it's not peel and stick. It's the real deal. So if you get, you know, a mess on there, you can wipe it off. It's going to be more durable. We've got some stainless steel heat shielding up here on the upper cabinets, and as you can see, more of that awesome indirect rope lighting continues all along the upper cabinets here, shining down onto your workspace. And that brings me to one of my favorite countertop materials, and we actually discovered it on this build. And this is a product called Ritualite. It's a phenolic resin-based product that uses recycled paper, layers of it, laminated under high temperature and pressure and impregnated with a phenolic resin to create a product that is extremely durable. In fact, they actually use a variant of this in making skate parks and skateboard ramps, like half pipes and things like that. But it's also easy to work with. We can use regular woodworking tools when we're dealing with it, and it ages really well. Like, you can use it. They make cutting boards out of this, as a matter of fact. But if it ever gets too scratched for your taste, you can actually just sand it down, buff it up, and then coat it. We use a product called Polyox from a company called Osmo. That's like an all-natural oil that just soaks into it and shines it up really nice. But it's an awesome product. It's really hard and useful, but it doesn't have that cold feeling that you might get with something like stone or any of those like quartz types of materials. So super durable. We use it throughout all of the work surfaces in this bus, including the bathroom countertop are made using this, and we really enjoy it. Well, if you've been following the work that we do, you know that we're no strangers to finding all the space we can inside of a bus for storage, because there's never enough storage. When Kendra submitted her cabinetry drawings for this build, they included some toe kick storage. And what's different about this is, instead of drawers, we actually used removable magnetic covers, like this one here. What I like about this setup is that it doesn't cost you any space lost to the slides or the drawer box itself, and saves it all for storage. Because a lot of times the things you're putting in here might be awkward or bulky anyways, and you're just getting them out of the way, and you don't want to lose any of that space to a bulky slide mechanism. Rounding out what's happening on this side of the lower cabinets, we've got a full depth upper drawer for all of your spices and cutlery and things like that. And then below that, we've got a couple of shallower drawers. And the reason that they're shallower is because behind it is mounted the Spartan, or the Wallace Spartan diesel furnace. And so it lives up here, and then all the ducting radiates out. We put it in a central place so that the duct runs could be as short as possible, so that the heat gets to where you want it to go. Next to that, we've got our undersink storage, and often overlooked when people are designing their buses is where they're going to put the trash and recycling. Well, here it's conveniently mounted on the back side of the undersink drawer, or door actually. And then behind that, we've got all the mechanicals for the kitchen area. So we've got our propane shutoff for the stove, we've got our HEPVO drain, and then we've got the ducting for the Wallace heater. To the left of that, the last unit in this lower stack is our pull-out pantry. And it's a shelf-style pantry that slides out here, and it's got the locking Jambini latch on the top to keep it from opening when you're going down the road. Coming across the top, the upper cabinet section here, we've got a couple of open shelves for those, close at hand utensils and spices and things that you have and want access to when you're cooking. Above that, we have a shelf above the stove, some more open shelving, some nice closing upper cabinets here. And then next to that is a really clever feature and a great way for you to store and wash your dishes all in one. And that is an upper dish rack with a hole in the bottom so that you put your wet, clean dishes up here and they just drip dry out into the sink. And when you're done, they can just stay there and live there as you go down the road. And then above that, we have a shelf for drying and washing even more dishes. Really great solution. It's one that we've actually incorporated into a lot of builds since we built this bus because it works so well for that job. Now, if you've ever tried living with a Berkey water filter on the road, you know the pain and suffering that that can bring. And that's because these units don't ship from the factory with a sight glass. They have no way of securing them and no easy way of filling them unless you take them out of this place where they live in your rig. Well, we solved that with this setup. So what we've done is we've added 2 sight glasses so that you can make sure that you're never going to overfill either, because the design of the Berkey does allow you to actually inadvertently overfill the lower container if you put too much water in the unfiltered section up top. This makes it easy for you to keep an eye on both, and if you ever do accidentally overfill the top one, you can drain it out because we added a spout to the upper compartment as well. It's secured on the top here with this strap that goes across. And when it's time to fill, all you have to do is pull on this chain and it activates a spring-loaded ball valve so that you can fill it up with one simple action. Now, all of the lights in this area are on a dimmer, which we love. And over here, we have the control center for the systems of the bus. As usual, we've got our Victron Energy color control unit, and it's displaying all of the crucial information that really anyone can understand. Even if you're a novice in off-grid solar technology, it tells you how much wattage you're bringing in from the panels, what your AC loads look like, what your DC loads look like, and how your battery's doing. And if we were plugged into shore power, that would appear on this upper left corner here, and it would tell you there how much power you're using. A really cool feature about this, because this bus has its own Wi-Fi network, this is actually connected to it. So if you ever needed help troubleshooting it, or if you create your own Victron remote monitoring account, from anywhere in the world you can log in and actually check in on your bus and see how it's doing. Super handy feature, and if you need help troubleshooting and you call Victron Tech Support or you call me, I can log in and we can troubleshoot things together. We can update firmware, I can update configuration files, the whole 9 yards. You probably won't need it because this stuff is super reliable, but it's nice to know that you've got help if you need it. Up here we've got our sea level tank monitoring system for monitoring the levels of your freshwater, gray water, and propane tanks, as well as controls for the freshwater pump. And then right here we've got the Wallace diesel heater control unit, a really sweet unit, and it's super intuitive in my opinion and easy to use. Lets you control the Wallace diesel heater, program it to different settings, adjust it for altitude, you name it. If you can imagine living with a family of 4 on the road, your grocery runs are going to be a little bigger than just living by yourself. That means you're going to want ample refrigerated food storage, and this bus has an 11 cubic foot General Electric residential style fridge. Probably one of the best residential style fridges. We've actually used this in 3 builds, and everybody that's used this has been very happy with it. Up above the fridge we have space for a microwave if you wish, because it does have a power outlet in it. But if you don't need a microwave, great spot to store more food, more of everything. Well, that does it for all the cooking section in the kitchen area. I want to talk about the dining and hangout side of things. Over here we've got a lot of usable space. This unit's really cool because it can be set up like this as kind of almost a bar top, and these lower benches pull out. These benches also have built-in storage below them that you could use for shoes, you could use it for wine bottles. I mean, you could store whatever will fit, obviously. The cool thing about these is that the tops lift up, so you actually have storage underneath there. And then these two units actually pull together to create more of like a dining table setup, so you can have two seats on each side facing each other. Really cool to have this type of convertible space, and when it's like this, you can have dinner with the view, and it's really well set up. Before we get out of this area and start talking about the bathroom and bedroom zone, we got to talk about the Pioneer 12,000 BTU 21.5 SEER mini split that keeps this bus climate controlled. We're out here in the high deserts of Colorado. It's definitely toasty outside, but it's doing a great job of keeping it more than hospitable in here. Right next to that, included with this bus, are these really awesome flip out coat hangers. I mean, I'd buy the bus just for that personally. Sweet little addition. That wraps up the front area of the bus, the common space. Let's take you back and I'll show you the bathroom, the bunk zone, and the master bedroom in the back of this bus. All right, so that's the front portion of the bus, and I want to take you to the back with the bathroom, bunk room, and master bedroom. But before we do that, I want to cover how we actually handled dividing the space in this bus. There are a lot of challenges often in doing that in a clean way that doesn't really mess up the flow. And in this bus, we opted to go with pocket doors, and I really love how it turned out. So there are 3 pocket doors in this bus, one here as you enter into the bathroom, another one between the bathroom and the bunk, and then a final one between the bunk room and the master bedroom. They're all the same, and I'm going to show you how they work because it's a really handy way of dividing the space that gets out of the way when you're not using it. So up here we've got a leather strap that just buttons against the wall for when you're traveling so that these aren't flying around. And just like a normal pocket door, you close it. It's a super clean look, and when you're not using it, it's like they're not even there. And that's really important because you don't want doors getting in the way of a good time. Am I right? So come on back, I'll show you this awesome bathroom, and then we'll keep on working our way back through the rest of the bus. All right, so we're going selfie mode so I can cover this bathroom. As you walk in here, it feels a lot more like the kind of bathroom you'd find in, say, a studio loft than you'd ever expect out of a Skoolie. And it's got all the amenities you'd expect as well. Let me take you around and show you everything packed in here. Starting with the shower, we've got a miniature soaking tub, so it's only 4 feet wide, but it's extra deep, and you can easily fit in there and soak and take a bath, and I know it's been done. And up here we've got a water-saving shower head. These things are awesome. They use about half the water that you would normally use with the conventional shower head, and they're a lot better than some of those other water savers you might see in RVs. Again, we've got our real ceramic tile that carries through into the shower, and then a nice nook here for all of your bathing products. Underneath the bathtub, believe it or not, we actually have a removable panel for access to even more storage in the bath area. Across on the other side, opposite the tub, we've got our sink, again with the rich light countertops, and an inset sink here, stainless. We've got a full-size medicine cabinet, super great feature, not always common on Skoolies. A nice upper shelf with curtains, and then here we have that Wostman composting toilet I was mentioning. So not only does it have a ceramic bowl and an exterior waste container, but it's actually got a flush mechanism. Super handy feature. Check that out. You don't see that every day. All right. Come on back into this bunk room and check out how fun this is. So right here we've got our upper and lower bunks, and each bunk has a window, but not only that, but this awesome little storage nook at the foot of each bed. Fantastic. There's little shelves across the top, and underneath the lower bunk, this bed lifts up for, you guessed it, access to even more storage. The bunks are accessed by this custom-made steel ladder, and each bunk has a curtain across the top for privacy. Across the hall from the bunks are the main closets for the bus, and next to the closets we've got a washer and dryer. Above the washer and dryer we have our propane tankless on-demand water heater with a drying rack for clothes right in front of it. Above that, we've got great storage space, and just to the right, a massive broom closet. What makes this wardrobe really fantastic, the drawers are not only wide, but super deep. So you can store even the bulkiest clothing items in here. And I mean, a drawer for each person would hold a ton of clothes. On top of that, you still have a large closet right above them. In the back here, you can see we've got our AC distribution panel and one of our 2 DC sub panels. But then we also have a nice hanging rack on the top. Well, I don't know about you, but I would have died to grow up living in a bunk bed like this. But let's keep moving back to the master bedroom. This bus, it just keeps on going, I'm telling you. So as you step up through the last of the pocket doors into the master bedroom, you're greeted with a queen-size mattress. On either side, we've got flip-up storage cubbies for magazines, books, you name it. And then at the foot, we also have matching nightstand end tables for each side. We got one over here and one over here. Underneath this bed is where a lot of the systems of the bus are. So we've got our 100-gallon freshwater tank, our 10 kilowatt hour Victron lithium battery bank, in addition to all of the solar hardware under here. Not only is there all of that there, but there's also plenty of storage, and we even have some lift-up storage here in the stairs stepping up into the master bedroom. And of course, it wouldn't be complete without some reading lamps on each side, perimeter shelving across the top, and then a dedicated max air fan. We also have one of these up front that I didn't mention, but you should just expect it from us. We love those things. Lastly, we've got our openings, dual pane screened RV windows on each side, and these are emergency egress windows. So there's a red handle that you can pull and the whole unit actually comes out. And I should mention while we're back here, all of the curtains in this bus are custom made. They have these nice leather straps and they're full blackout, so that if you want some privacy or if you want to sleep in, it's not a problem. And the other advantage of that is on a hot day or a cold day, if you keep the curtains drawn, it really keeps your energy consumption down when you're trying to maintain temperature inside the bus. Well, we've reached the end of the bus, and I think that means we've reached the end of this tour. I hope you've enjoyed following along while I recall and share all of the awesome things we packed into this Skoolie. It's really one of the most functional builds I think we've ever made, and the overall aesthetic is just so consistent and clean and open and nice. I mean, what's not to love about it? Thanks for tuning in on this, but before you go, I've got a special treat for you at the end of this video. Tyler and Kendra, the husband and wife behind this awesome Skoolie, are here with me. We're gonna sit down, we're gonna share some thoughts about Skoolie life, what it's like living in a bus, their thoughts on this bus, and maybe they'll clue us in on as to what the future holds for them next. So don't go anywhere. All right, well, thanks for staying tuned throughout that tour. I hope you found it interesting. And I'm here with the owners of this bus, Tyler and Kendra. And Kendra is actually an architect by trade, so this is the first build we ever did where from the very beginning we already had a set of plans to work off of, which is probably why it turned out so well and we were able to utilize every nook and cranny, is because she took the time to actually, you know, figure it all out instead of us kind of making it up on the fly as we go, which is not a bad way to go, but this was definitely a different way of doing things, and I really love the way it turned out. So well, in fact, that she actually helped us design another bus for a client that we did, which I've done a tour on. If you scroll back, I'm sure you can find it. It looks a lot like this bus. It's just a little shorter, but that was also for a family of 4. So, Tyler, Kendra, thank you for letting me build your bus, and thank you for letting me have a chance to do a tour of it and share it with people, because I know it's something that people at home will be inspired by and maybe even drool a little bit over. Because it turned out so well. But before we go too far, would you care, either one of you, to share, you know, why did you decide to get into a school bus and hire us to build one for you? Like, what was your plan? What brought you here?
So we decided we lived in Seattle, and we loved Seattle, but we decided we didn't want to live in Seattle anymore after we had kids, and we didn't have location-based jobs, and we had no idea where we wanted to move.
Yeah.
We had dreams of maybe some places, but we'd never been there. So we made a list of where places to check out and what we wanted in a new hometown. And then we at first thought maybe converting an Airstream to travel around. But then kind of digging deeper and being in the design industry, we really fell in love with the idea of a Skoolie and being able to fully customize your home and your living space. So we did some research and we found Charlie, who seemed like really legit and really the best in the industry, and we convinced him to work with us. And we were able to get this built. So what we ended up doing was traveling around and sort of testing out new hometowns. And that's kind of what we've been using the bus for. So adventure in that, but there was sort of a purpose with us traveling around the West Coast.
Yeah, and so you were basically scouting out the whole West Coast of the country in the bus, bringing the family along, trying on sort of different locations to see if they fit. Yeah. And you found a place. And so your youngest kid, or your oldest kid, I guess now, is getting ready for school, so it's time to settle down. You found home, and I guess the bus mission is now complete, yeah?
Yeah, the next phase, so we bought some property, so we're going to build a house.
Awesome.
So that's the next phase.
And I'm guessing you're designing that house as well?
Yes. Together, of course.
Well, yeah. Absolutely. Well, that's really cool. So, this bus has a ton of, great features, and I'm going to ask an unfair question, but, would each of you mind telling me, of all of the things in the bus, maybe what's a feature of it that you really love, or maybe, what's an unexpected sort of feature that, you didn't think, something would be so handy or so awesome, but it actually is, or maybe it's a little thing that you just ended up loving that you never saw coming?
My favorite is the finished drying rack.
The drying rack?
Yeah. Because that's usually my job. And it's super neat that you don't have to make the drying and the washing way more efficient.
I think that's a really sweet
feature. And it's something you use every single day in a small space at least once a day, if not 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's an example, and we were talking about this earlier, the temptation is to make things multifunctional in a small space, and that can be really good, like with the drying rack, that's also where you keep the dishes, that's built into the cabinets, or it can be really frustrating if your bed is also where your office is or something. So I'm with you. I think that's a really cool feature. I
think 2 of the features that I really wanted to fit onto the bus, and I'm not sorry I did, was a bathtub that the kids could go in and was also big enough for me to soak in if I wanted, and then also a washer dryer. Just as a family, those features are really nice to have. They're not the flashiest things. I obviously like how it looks, but those I'm not sorry that I took the extra time to try to source those.
Yeah. I mean, a washer and dryer with the family of 4, I think that's like a must-have, if you ask me.
It was a must-have on my list.
It'd be on my list, too.
And we can actually run it. We've run it going down the road.
That's productivity right there,
Yeah.
That's great. Well, I guess my last question, because, a lot of the people who watch my channel, they don't live bus life, They're just thinking about it. And does each of you maybe mind sharing, a piece of wisdom or something that you've learned or that maybe you wish you knew getting into bus life? What's it like? What's it like, maybe especially the perspective of being parents on the road with some small kids? I mean, that's a totally different experience than someone might have, like my friend Alyssa. She travels alone in a small bus with a dog. You are traveling in essentially a house with 2 kids and the 2 of you. So, what can you share about what that's like, and maybe tell people what they might be in for that you don't maybe get from the Instagram pictures, when you're scrolling around the internet?
You're gonna do a lot of bus maintenance.
Bus maintenance.
You work on your bus a lot. It's like a house. You have everything, even more than a house would have as far as mechanical systems.
Yeah.
Plus an engine, the transmission, and 6 tires, and it's just like a house too, where the list just gets longer. And but I mean, it's other than that, everything's pretty straightforward. It's all straightforward, but you know, you always have those sorts of things you have to sort through, and you end up doing a lot more.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe hanging at the beach, but there's always
you got to be captain of a ship.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I didn't really think about how much before we got on the road, how much travel planning there is. You're constantly thinking about the next destination. Where are we going to park? Where are we going to pull over for lunch? So you have to get good at looking at Google Maps and seeing if there's like a parking area you can pull over on the side of the highway, or like where's going to be a parking lot that you can pull through and turn around.
Yep.
So you get to be really good at looking at Google Maps and seeing like where there might be a big enough space for you, as well as like making any reservations you need, or like planning what time of year you want to be in a certain place, because even though our bus has a lot of insulation and good systems in it, you have the ability to move to the nice weather, so you want to be moving to the nice weather. So it just that just becomes a part of your to-do list, is the never-ending travel planning, which isn't bad. I'm not complaining about it, but it's something you have to get used to doing. Right,
that's a whole new job or responsibility. Just like taking care of the bus, you know. Now you're also the tour guide for your family.
Yeah.
And when you were traveling too, you towed a vehicle the whole time, pretty much. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and would you recommend that to other families?
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
I think something this big, you have to.
Yeah, if you want to get back in there.
If you want to get to where you want to go. It could be tall. I mean, it's just really nice to be able to just load everybody up and do your kind of daily stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's the daily stuff too. I mean, you want to go get groceries easily.
Right.
You don't want to have to pull through the Walmart parking lot every time you do that in a 40-foot rig. But there's also like, you're not going to be able to like go through all of Zion in a rig this size, because you can't get through certain areas, and you're not going to be able to go to all the attractions. So if you really are wanting to like go out and explore the environments that you're taking your bus to, it's good to have some sort of to-go vehicle. Right. Yeah, I think that's something where almost all of the families that I see that are traveling in a larger rig, they tow something behind them, because that's like the whole point is to get out there and be able to get into places. But then also, grocery shopping. You don't want to bring your whole house to the grocery store if you don't have to.
Even though we got it down pretty good, it still takes quite a bit of time to kind of, once you get somewhere, to get the stuff out and put everything off the counters when you leave. And so we would kind of base camp. Yeah. And then be striking distance to a lot of things.
So that was your kind of camping style, was you'd move to a location, set up, home base, and then travel out and explore from there. Yeah, and I think that's different. A lot of the solo bus and van life people, they just, when you have an 18-foot rig compared to a 40-foot rig, they just go right into it.
It's also really nice not to have to break camp.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, if you want to go, you're going to go for a hike for the day, you don't have to break camp down. And
put away all the toys. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for sharing your space and some time, and thanks again for letting us build this project for you. Like I mentioned earlier, this bus is actually for sale, so it can be yours. It's a great bus, and I can tell you that Tyler and Kendra have done an excellent job keeping it up. It's in better shape now than it was when it left our shop, I can safely say, and they've even packed a few more features in since then as well. If you are interested in purchasing this bus, I have Kendra's contact information located below. And if you want to see a little bit more about the kind of adventures this bus has been on, you can check out their Instagram page. It's Route 303 Bus on Instagram. Lots of cool photos. It'll probably get you inspired. It might be enough to convince your significant other that you need to buy this bus. But thanks again, guys, and thanks for watching. If you like this content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because there's plenty more where this came from. I've got some great tour videos coming up. Thanks for spending the time with us, and we'll see you next time.